Good morning, everyone. Are you ready for the final countdown? It's the battle of the three, the battle for the championship. We are here at the Hockenheimring, as tradition holds it, and we're excited for this final round of DTM 2024. And yeah, looking up into the sky, it's pretty foggy, but surely the weather is going to change, and hopefully it's going to stay dry today because it's going to be such an exciting race today. And fact is, Kelvin van der Linde fought back. He is now 2 points ahead of Mirko Bortolotti and 20 points ahead of Maro Engel. So it's going to be very exciting to see how the qualifying goes, because this young man here, Kelvin van der Linde, is going to be fighting so hard, that is for sure, because he really wants this. He's just getting into the car. Surely tension is really tight, and surely he's very keen on getting those points in the qualifying, and then of course later on in the race. And yeah, we're looking forward to a very exciting qualifying. So now let's do it. Here are your commentators.
Thanks very much, Verena. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to, as Verena said, a very foggy Hockenheim, which started about half an hour ago, the fog coming in. It's got thicker and thicker, so look out at the commentary box window, and we see the start-finish line. We can't see much beyond that at the moment, but at the moment it all looks like we're going to get underway as scheduled. And as Verena said, a victory yesterday for Kelvin van der Linde, his third of the season. He started the day at 15 points adrift in the championship. He got pole position, cut the gap to 12, and then he got that victory yesterday to move into the championship lead by 2 points ahead of Mirko Bortolotti and Maro Engel, who finished fourth, with Mirko Bortolotti finishing in fifth yesterday. He's still in contention as well. Maro Engel, 20 points behind the championship leader. It was 20 points behind the championship leader at the start of the weekend. It's just a different championship leader this time around. But unless Maro Engel is able to close the gap in qualifying and outscore his rivals and the championship leader by 1, 2 or 3 points, then he's going to have to win the race. And he hasn't won a race so far this season, but not only is he going to have to win the race, Maro Engel, to get enough points to move into the championship lead, he's going to have to hope that Mirko Bortolotti doesn't finish any higher than 9th in the race, 11th in the race rather, and Kelvin van der Linde any higher than 9th in the race. So it's a tall order, and we've had a BOP change overnight as well. It doesn't affect the Audis or the Lamborghinis, but it does affect the Mercedes. So the Mercedes have got 55 kilograms of BOP ballast now, which is 15 kilograms more than they had yesterday. Particularly bad news for Lucas Auer, because he finished second yesterday, and in the race, not in qualifying, but in the race, he'll already get success ballast, 10 kilograms for finishing second. So his car in the race is going to be 25 kilograms heavier than it was yesterday, the Austrian driver. And the other changes for the BMWs, who struggled in qualifying, as is often the case this year, but did well in the race. Particularly in the case of René Rast, and the BMWs have got 10 kilograms more, 50 kilograms of BOP ballast rather than 40. For everybody else, it's the same, except for the McLarens, who have been lightened by 15 kilograms. They've got 35 kilograms of BOP ballast. They had 50 yesterday, so that's the key change. The victory for Kelvin van der Linde yesterday also effectively gives him another championship point, if you like, because if they were to tie on points, Mirko Bortolotti and Kelvin van der Linde, or Maro Engel and Kelvin van der Linde, then Kelvin wins the championship, because you go on count back of the most wins, and neither of them can beat the number of wins he's got now. He's got 3, Mirko's got 1, and Maro has yet to win this season. So a crucial victory yesterday, and a really hard-fought one for the South African. Absolutely gave it his all yesterday, his heart and soul, and was completely out of energy at the end of the race, but he got the points in the bag. Hopefully all 3 of them slept well overnight. One of the onboard cameras this weekend is with the driver that won last year's championship, Thomas Preining. You just saw him in the garage, sat ready to go. He's had an engine change overnight. The car struggled to 14th place yesterday, whereas his teammate, Arjen Nguyen, had a great race, finished in 3rd place. There's Maro Engel with a lot of work to do then with this extra weight on the car as well, in terms of the BOP change overnight. But somebody that, and Kelvin van der Linde, and most of the drivers out there on the grid, know all about driving at the Nürburgring, then they'll be fine in the fog, because this is just like a summer's day at the Nürburgring. So we're all set to go for the last qualifying session of the season, and it's a massive one, not just thinking about the points you can get for qualifying in the top 3, but where you end up on the grid. And remember, Kelvin van der Linde is going to have 20 kilograms of success ballast on board once we get to the race. So he wants to have a decent grid position. He doesn't want to be in the middle of the grid with that weight on the car. We're all set to go. The Gladiator's about to go into battle for 20 minutes of qualifying. We're here at Hockenheim in the commentary box to try and see what's going on through the fog. My name's Chris Hartley, and alongside me, good morning to Brian Oliver.
Good morning, Chris. When we drove into the circuit a couple of hours ago, it looked like the sun was poking through, and I thought it's going to be a lovely day. Now I can't even see the circuit from the commentary box. The fog has come in very quickly. Hopefully it will clear soon. This is so exciting. The championship on an absolute knife edge. The championship can't be won during this qualifying session, but the outcome of this qualifying session may well may determine who wins the championship. I think Kelvin van der Linde and also Mirko Bortolotti and Mauro Engel will be really eager to qualify towards the front of the grid. If they're in the middle or towards the back, it will put them on the back foot for the race this afternoon, the final race of the season. It feels like a bit of a dash for the cash. In terms of Bortolotti and Kelvin van der Linde, I mean, it's almost at the situation with whoever finishes in front of the other could become champion.
Yeah, unless they're in the lower points where there's only 1 point difference between positions, in which case Kelvin could actually afford to finish a little bit behind Bortolotti and still do it, but you wouldn't expect either of them to be down there in the lower order of the points. So we're underway, and good luck photographers getting anything out of this. The cars we will be able to see are Engine Nguyen, Thomas Preining, and the two SSR Performance Lamborghinis, because they got the bright, luminous neon graphics and colour schemes on the cars. There's one of them, Thomas Preining, just going out, being passed by Mirko Bortolotti. And you can see just how thick the fog is here. It's very different to what we had yesterday. It is dry, though, and it's a bit cooler than qualifying yesterday. About 3 degrees cooler. It was 14 degrees yesterday morning. It's 11 degrees this morning. And in terms of the track temperature, that's 10.5 degrees, also colder.
So question from race director, is the visibility on track okay?
Yes, so far it's okay.
Copy.
Visibility is okay. The audibility of that reply isn't so
you couldn't hear it either. Yeah. We'll never know, is the answer. Not great, probably, but yeah, it's interesting the race director, Sven Stopper, wanting to get feedback from the drivers. What's it like out there from your point of view, which is very sensible, isn't it, to get the feedback from the actual people that are trying to drive cars very quickly around a circuit in these conditions. So lots of the cars bail back for the pits. That was Leon Wippersteg, the race engineer of Kelvin van der Linde, who celebrates every victory heartily. He's a big character, Leon, and great relationship he's had for a number of years with Kelvin van der Linde. And what's the last day that the Audis will be run by the Abt Sportsline team? All started 25 years ago with the Audi TTR, which is on display here along Aiello. A couple of years later, won the championship with Abt in a similar machine. So a parting of ways, a friendly parting of ways, but they want to go out on a high here with a championship. So we'll see what the times bring us. I don't think we're going to get anywhere near a qualifying lap record with the cooler conditions and the fact we got this fog as well, but the qualifying lap record is a 136.479. I think we're probably going to be looking at the 137s in these conditions today. They get 4 sets of slick tyres at this circuit to last two qualifying sessions and 2 races. Kelvin van der Linde is about to set an early benchmark time. It's not going to be mega quick, though. Over the line he goes, 1 minute 42.2 seconds. But interesting, Brian, that drivers are getting out there early, some of them at least, staying out there and getting some banker laps in.
Yes, we saw that yesterday, although that was very different conditions yesterday. We can't see much. Well, the stewards can, because they've seen a couple of cars exceeding track limits into turn 1, so they've clearly got good visibility down there. None more so than Kelvin van der Linde, who's had a lap time deleted as a result of exceeding track limits. To remind you, coming into this weekend, Kelvin van der Linde is on 2 reprimands. If he got a 3rd reprimand, because he couldn't get a grid drop at the next race, he would instead pick up a penalty lap. That would be the equivalent of a 5-second time penalty. That would be disastrous. It is possible to pick up a reprimand for exceeding track limits too many times, and I expect his team will be keeping him updated with that and telling him to keep it within the white lines, especially in turn 1.
Right, you're right on board with the championship leader, Kelvin van der Linde, one of the early runners. He's just to make his way out towards the end of the second sector as he comes out of turn 11. so far. He's done the absolute best first sector. From Pereira has got the best lap time so far, but it's only a 1 minute 44. Kelvin van der Linde went quicker than that, but lost the lap time for track limits. So he hasn't actually got a proper lap in the books as yet, but this one is quicker than anybody else so far as he makes his way now into the final arena section and towards the last couple of corners. Just about to come into turn 16 here, third gear corner, 125 kilometres an hour, but then darts off into the pit. So it was looking like a better lap, but it's still not incredibly quick out there at all, is it? 1:44 is the best lap time we've seen, which is something like 8 seconds off the lap record pace. Sparks flying on from Pereira's Grasser Racing Team Lamborghini. Then it retired from the race yesterday, and the gold livery car heads out. You can just about see the headlights he goes through, and that's a 1:40.543, which is a bit more like it.
Yes, so Kelvin van der Linde had a second track limits warning, and I think that's why he bailed on that lap and pulled off into the pits, because that lap wouldn't have counted anyway. So we are well over a quarter of the way through this qualifying session. Well, Luca Engstler's 1:40.517, which is, well, it's a time, isn't it? And it's at the top of the timing screens at the moment, but everybody waiting a bit. Feels a little bit like the fog has actually lifted a little even since this session has started, and maybe the movement of the cars around the track can help the fog to lift, but still waiting. I think it's going to be one of those sessions where the quickest time comes in the absolute dying moments of it.
Actually, what's helpful is that the wind has picked up a bit. It's breezy, so it was 0.5 metres per second, the wind, before the session started. It's 2.1 now, so we've got a bit of breeze. We can actually see flags fluttering. That's starting to just clear the fog a little bit. We can see the grandstand at the back of the entry into the Sachs curve now, which we couldn't see from the commentary box before, which we are based on the top of the grandstand on the outside of the start-finish line. So it is a little bit better than it was. Pereira and Engstler in the two Lamborghinis are staying out there. Engstler's done the absolute best first and second sectors so far, but we've only seen lap times from 5 cars, 5 drivers: Engstler, Pereira, Wittmann, and then van der Linde and Doer. And we've only got the 3 cars out on track, the Lamborghinis of Engstler and Pereira, and the double DTM champion Marco Wittmann of the BMW is still out on track as well. So Pereira, he's going to get a personal best lap time. Fantastic sparks coming from the back of the car there, and that low-slung Lamborghini. He goes quickest for now, but Luca Engstler just behind him should be even quicker when he comes through, and it is a 1:39.109. Qualified well yesterday, didn't he, in 4th place, and he's got qualifying much better of late. Luca Engstler was on the front row of the grid at the Red Bull Ring as well.
And he took his first win, of course, this year at the season opener, which was very exciting as well. And took him by surprise, as well as everybody else, because he wasn't expecting that early on in the season. But Luca Engstler at the top at the moment, nailing his colours to the mast. Kelvin van der Linde, well, probably very nervous. Now, this is a replay of him exceeding track limits, where you probably don't need a tape measure to see that one. That's well over the white line. But probably very tense moments for Kelvin van der Linde this morning. Just trying to focus on the job ahead, not think too far ahead. And you saw him in the car there, just refocusing, picturing himself on the lap, just thinking about what he's got to do to keep hold of that championship lead. Yeah,
trying to stay in the zone. An update on the team championship standings after yesterday. The team in 3rd, Winwood Racing, scored the most points yesterday, thanks to the efforts of Lucas Auer and Maro Engel, who were 2nd and 4th respectively. There is Maro. And they caught up to the championship leaders. Also outscoring the championship leaders in the teams were Abt Sportsline, with points for Ricardo Feller back in 12th, but also, of course, the win for Kelvin van der Linde. So Schubert Motorsport, the leaders still of the standings, but the gap down now to 25 points. Schubert Motorsport have got 336 points, 311, 25 behind for Abt Sportsline, 301 for Winwood, 35 behind, 281 for SSR Performance in 4th, they're 55 behind, and Team HRT are 68 points behind the championship leaders. All could mathematically still do it, because you count your best 2 scores. No, in fact, they can't, can they? We've got top 3 that can do it still. You count your best 2 scores, so you could get 45 points if your cars came in 1, 2. So that means that Winwood would need a pretty big turnaround, but they can still do it. 35 points adrift with 45 to go. Abt also need a pretty big turnaround, 25 behind, 45 points still available. And the Manufacturers' Championship after yesterday is almost there now for Mercedes. They got 417 points. They are 38 points clear of Lamborghini, and again with only 45 points up for grabs. And finally, the Pit Stop Challenge. as we get team radio first of all from Mauro Engel.
This will be a massive traffic jam, these guys.
Yeah. All going to complain about it.
Yeah, I will wait a bit. I will wait, no problem.
No track space now.
Have time.
Yeah, there's no room on the track now because they're all going to go out together and trip over each other and get in each other's way, aren't they? That's going to be the issue with this one. Yeah, the pit stop challenge is still very tight between the top 2 teams. Only 2 points in it. So Manthey EMA, this is for the fastest pit stop in each race. Fastest pit stop gets 3 points, second fastest gets 2, and the third fastest for the team gets 1. And Manthey EMA are on 28 points, 26 points for Winwood, only 2 behind. We saw at the time what was the quickest pit stop of the season for Mauro Engel, just a few thousandths over 6 seconds, a 6.0 second pit stop. But Sheldon van der Linde and Schubert were even quicker. They did a 5.9 second pit stop, so the quickest pit stop of the year. Schubert a third in the standings, can't win it now, but Sheldon van der Linde has had some very rapid pit stops this year. On average, the driver with the quickest pit stops has been Lucas Auer. Sheldon, though, is second to him, with Ijin Nguyen having the third quickest pit stops on average. 6.7 seconds average for Auer, 6.8 for Sheldon, and 7 for Ijin Nguyen. Right, track getting busier now. 8 minutes, 40 seconds left on the clock. Mirko Bortolotti out there, and he said at the end of the race yesterday, that was all I could get from the car. That was all the car was capable of yesterday. A 5th place finish. He had a great start, though, in the race, didn't he? Went from 7th to 4th straight away.
Always good at coming forwards and keeping out of trouble. It's great to see some of these camera shots, particularly looking back at the driver. Let's hear from the driver as well, Mirko Bortolotti, Team Radio.
Vermeulen and then Nicky, and then there's a big gap to the next one, Miney. So they don't have any reason to slow massively down. So manage the gap to grinding and you're okay.
So that's crucial information for the drivers when it's so busy out on track. How far in front of the next cars are they likely to be slowing down, and we're going to catch them up? Well, he's just coming into turn 7. The 2 cars ahead of him are just at turn 9. So in theory, he's got a nice big advantage. It was Arjun Maini and Thierry Vermeulen, the 2 cars ahead of him, and a nice big gap behind as well. As for Kelvin van der Linde, he's at turn 4 at the moment, with Ricardo Feller ahead of him. So that's useful, and I think it's Luca Exler that's behind him, the driver that's quickest so far in the session, but we're going to get quicker than a 1:39.1, surely. We're going to get into at least the 1 minute 37s. We shall find out very shortly, because this really is where qualifying begins. Mirko Bortolotti, the car starting to look more lively now, the body language as he picks up the pace, and on the next lap, I'm sure he'll really go for it. It's going to be a lowish 1 minute 41, something like that for this lap goes through. No, in fact, it's one slower than that, 1:43.8, but that was his push lap, his build-up lap. He now begins to go for the assault for the next 2 or 3 laps. There is Mauro Engel. He needs a big one here, but the Mercedes heavier with the BOP overnight. Marco Wittmann just behind, lights ablaze on the Schubert BMW.
Every single car is out on track now with 6 3/4 minutes remaining, and finding space on a circuit that's just a smidgen over 4.5 kilometres is going to be a challenge. Behind Mauro Engel, there's Marco Wittmann as well, weaving to get the heat into the tyres, but building the temperature up gently now over these next couple of laps, and then it'll be the push laps, and we're going to see the times coming down. Out onto the pit straight come both of the AB Sportsline cars running one behind the other.
Arjun Maini has done the absolute best first sector. He's just gone through the end of the second sector in the number 36 Mercedes, and a personal best through there, but 47.5 seconds is about a tenth and a half down on the best middle sector time. However, Arjun is looking pretty rapid through the third sector as well. Nicky Timmer's just done the absolute best middle sector. He's further back on the lap, but Arjun Maini pushes now for the line. This is going to push him up the order. He's 9th at the moment, but how high up the order will he get? He'll get 5th with that. 1 minute 40.569. More time, more speed required. Nicky Timmer, as ever, is fully committed as he comes out of the last corner, goes for the line, and goes quickest for now. 1 minute 38.176 seconds.
From Pereira also on a quick lap, as is Rene Rast. So the time's starting to tumble now. The 1:38.176 is the benchmark. Riding on board with Kelvin van der Linde in the number 3 car. currently in 19th, so he hasn't put in a competitive lap yet, but that's about to change. A personal best in Sector 1, 21.351.
Bortolotti's gone through. It was a quicker lap, but it's still only in the 1 minute 41. So he's taking his time building up the tyre temperature in the car. As Nicky Tim's time of 138.176, still the one to beat. 139.1s for Engsler. And then a 139.5 for Pereira. Bortolotti has now pulled the trigger. Absolute best first sector then for the Italian. He's at turn 5 at the moment, going through the Parabolica and about to go down towards the Spitzkehrer. Kelvin van der Linde is on a personal best lap. He's got his teammate Ricardo Feller just ahead of him, but I don't think it's going to be necessarily a mega lap, but he'll get one in the books. He'll need to, because he's stone last at the moment. Kelvin van der Linde crosses the line now. Where does it put him? Top of the times, 1 minute 37.826, because it was a mega final sector. The absolute best final sector on the run through the Motodrome part of the circuit. Nicky Tim has done the absolute best middle sector, but Kelvin van der Linde is at the top of the times for now. Not any longer. Jules Gounon goes quickest. Angel Guen's just gone third as well as he crosses the line. So Gounon with a 137.5. Kelvin van der Linde 137.8 in second place. And now Mirko Bortolotti, who's already just set the absolute best middle sector. Bortolotti making his way then to turns 14 and 15. Through that little kink, he goes into the penultimate corner at turn 16. On the gas now through the Sud curve he goes, accelerating out of there at 130 kilometres an hour up to 4th gear, up to 5th gear, over 200 kilometres an hour as he goes over the start-finish line. Where will he end up? Top of the times, 136.708. So Borto goes quickest for now.
Brilliant stuff from Mirko Bortolotti. He kept getting purple sectors, but then they were getting eclipsed by Luca Engsler. He's another driver on a fast lap, the quickest of anybody in Sector 1 with a 21.034. Luca Engsler currently in 10th place, a personal best in Sector 2 for the Liquimoli Grasser Lamborghini. Into Sector 3 comes Luca Engsler. We're looking at Kelvin van der Linde at the moment, who's just behind him. But Luca Engsler in the now 12th place as drivers eclipse the times from previous laps. Now onto the pit straight comes Luca Engsler, and he's going to move himself up the table. The sparks go flying on the exit of the corner. He crosses the line up to P2 for Luca Engsler.
Yeah, and then the 2 Sports line Audis come through. It is second for Kelvin van der Linde. How about this? Bortolotti on pole. Van der Linde second. There was an improvement for Maro Engel last time around as well. He was 5th when he crossed the line. He's now down to 8th. Lucas Auer, despite the weight on the Mercedes, goes 4th quickest. Jules Gounon goes 2nd quickest. Kelvin van der Linde is pushed back down to 3rd place. And everybody out there, bar one, have just set personal best lap times. So the circuit getting quicker and quicker and quicker. And right out on the very edge of the circuit there, coming out of the final turn, is Nicky Tim. He goes 2nd. So now it's Bortolotti and Tim, the 2 SSR Performance teammates. Dream qualifying so far for the team. They're a 1-2. Jules Gounon is 3rd. Kelvin van der Linde is 4th, but 4th for now because Kelvin has just done the absolute best first sector. So van der Linde pushing on to try something special here once again to see if he can improve and get up onto the front row of the grid. He does not want to be behind Mirko Bortolotti with the extra weight on the car as well. So Kelvin now pushing because he comes out of turn 11. He'll go through the timing beam for the end of the second sector. It's not a personal best. It's a 45.2. He's lost about 0.3 of a second through that middle sector compared to the best middle sector. So van der Linde at the moment in 4th place. Can he get himself up at least to 3rd here to be right behind Mirko Bortolotti? There's a minute and a half to go. Van der Linde pushing hard. He's going to get another lap out of this as well if he can make the tyres last that long. But has he done enough in the last sector to improve from 4th place? He goes over the line now. Yes, he goes 3rd. So he'll be directly behind Mirko Bortolotti on the grid. Bortolotti is on pole at the moment, and Ricardo Feller, though, has split them. He's gone 3rd quickest. So that's not very helpful for Kelvin. So how about this? The 2 SSR Performance Lamborghinis are a 1-2. I was about to say the Sports Line Audis are a 3-4, but then Jules Gounon spoils the party. He goes 4th. Kelvin is down to 5th now.
Fantastic stuff. I think Nicky Tim is Mirko Bortolotti's new best mate, qualified P2 at the moment, but still all to play for. Mirko Bortolotti has not improved on this lap in either of the first two sections. Have we seen the best from him? He's still on provisional pole, 1:36.708. Can't see anybody improving behind him at the moment. The time is starting to run out. 30 seconds on the clock. That's it for qualifying for Mirko Bortolotti. He peels off into the pit lane. It's now out of his hands.
And at the moment, he's going to move back into the championship lead because he'll get 3 points. And Kelvin van der Linde is fifth, won't score any points. So by 1 point, one single point, Mirko Bortolotti is going to start the last race of the season back as the championship leader, and Kelvin is going to be reverting back to that position of being the chaser, the hunter. He's trying his best here, but I don't think he's got enough in the car, in the tyres, to be able to improve. He's lost a tenth or so through the first sector. He's lost another 2.5 tenths through the second sector. He's still trying to at least maybe get 30, and he needs to find 21 thousandths now. He's backed off. I said 21 thousandths would have got him ahead of his teammate and ahead of Jules Gounon, but it's not going to be the case. It's so tight. 1:36.9s for Fella, Gounon and Kelvin van der Linde. Barely a spit between all three drivers, but that looks to be it. Hyunjin Gounon there slowing down, disappointing after yesterday's heroics. He's back in 12th place, and Thomas Priding 13th. Team radio now for Kelvin van der Linde.
Proof, didn't improve. Box, 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 box. Yeah,
Well, that sets us up a treat, doesn't it, for the race this afternoon. Bortolotti comes back. His race engineer at the end of yesterday said, don't worry, we'll come back tomorrow. We'll come back fighting. We'll go and get them. And Bortolotti has banged it on pole position. He's got 3 points, and he's moved back into the championship lead by 1 point. Nicky Tibb, his teammate, for company, for help on the front row of the grid as well. Ricardo Fella, great to see him back on form. He's unlucky at the start of the race yesterday. Got pushed off onto the grass, came back up into the points, but he'll start in third place.
Bortolotti, you made the pole position happen. Yes!
That is significant, isn't it? If there was ever a time for SSR Performance to lock out the front row of the grid, it was going to be this weekend, and that is a phenomenal job from both of them. Mauro Engel will see his championship hopes, what little they were, slipping away further. He has only managed a P15. He's got a lot of work to do from there, and that is most definitely out of his hands now.
Great effort from Jules Gounon, though, isn't it? Given that the Mercedes are heavier than yesterday, the BOP change. 4th place for Jules. Excellent effort. Kelvin van der Linde in 5th place. And as you say, Mauro Engel back in 15th. So his only chance is if Bortolotti and van der Linde both have terrible races and he wins the race, because he now finds himself at 22 points behind the new championship leader, Mirko Bortolotti, who is absolutely thrilled with that. So Bortolotti, who has been the best qualifier of the year on average, does it again. Pole position number 3. He was on pole at Oschersleben the first weekend of the season. He was on pole at the Red Bull Ring. Has been in the top 3 in qualifying at least once at every single event this season. And that's now 20 points, the equivalent of a 2nd place finish that he's picked up in qualifying points this year. Confirmation then that Bortolotti has a single point advantage over Kelvin van der Linde going into the last race of the season. Bortolotti, Tim and Fella at the top 3. And remember, Kelvin van der Linde has got 20 kilograms of success ballast on the car after winning yesterday. Mirko Bortolotti has got no extra weight on the car because he finished 5th yesterday out of the top 3.
Well, now it really is whoever finishes in front. It's quite easy for us people who didn't do too well in maths at school. Whoever finishes in front out of those 2 drivers will be champion. It could not be any tighter. How crazy is this going into the last race of the season? A single point separating 1st and 2nd.
Absolutely incredible. At the start of the season, we had the sense it was going to go down to the last race of the season. It just felt like that all year long. It's been so close. It's been nip and tuck between the front runners in the championship, and so it has proved to be. Mirko Bortolotti then gets pole position for the last race of the season, the biggest pole that he's ever had, I would say. Nicky Tim for company on the front row. Ricardo Feller and then Gilles Gounon will start on row 2. Kelvin van der Linde will start 5th. Luca Engstler will start 6th. And then Front Pereira 7th. Lucas Auer in 8th. Jack Aitken 9th. Thierry Vermeulen in 10th. René Rast, once again the best of the BMWs, but only in 11th place. Eunjin Nguyen 12th. Thomas Preining 13th, disappointing for him. And then Clement Schmidt and Maro Engel 14th and 15th. Points-wise then, Mirko Bortolotti just 1 point clear, but he is now back into the championship lead, and he's ahead of his biggest rival on the grid, who will start in 5th place. And then Maro Engel, his only chance now is to win the race. He's got to win the race, and he's got to hope that Bortolotti and van der Linde score only a handful of points. Otherwise, that will be him out of the equation. And of course, Maro is way back down the grid. Great to see Ricardo Feller, though, after a tough year, back up there and back in good form in qualifying. So that's his 4th top 3 in qualifying of the season. Nicky Tim qualifies 2nd, and Mirko Bortolotti is your pole sitter. Let's go down to the pit lane and Verena.
And I'm here with the pole setter, Mirko Bortolotti. You fought hard, and now you're 1 point ahead. So again, you're the leader of the championship, and obviously that gives you a good feeling for the race. How tough is it going to be?
The race? Wow, really tough, as usual. So many elements, so many factors. But first of all, we must say I'm super delighted with this quali. It's been a tough day yesterday, and coming back like this shows the strength and the character we have. So I'm really proud of that. Incredible job this morning, so we need to now focus on the race, and we'll try to do the best there as well, but at least we have a really good starting position.
Absolutely. Congratulations. See you later in the race. And I've got Maro Engel here. Maro, you're 3rd in the championship. Now, unfortunately, I think 22 points behind the leader, Mirko. You're starting in P15, but it's still possible. So how hard is it going to be to fight back in the race?
Yeah, obviously not a good session for us. We need to analyze and have a look. It's been a difficult weekend with the car so far, so we just need to see where the performance is.
And in the beginning it was pretty foggy. How were the conditions?
I think the conditions were fine.
Okay, all right. So now nerves of steel, and you got to fight back really hard.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we will try to do the best possible race, but obviously it's not a great starting position.
Well, best of luck anyway. Thank you so much, Maro. And yeah, now of course it's all about the battle for the championship. It's all about the title. So we're looking forward to a very exciting race, because at this point it's the battle of the 3, and it's still possible for these 3 guys. So you don't want to miss it. See you later. Here are the highlights. Do enjoy, and can't wait for the race.